I wanted to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm sure it's a busy time for you with the album being out.
It is the busiest time of the year right now, actually. Short of like the week before the album comes out in December is always super busy. And then obviously the January when we have the Kickstarter campaign going, it's just like that's the one mad dash of promotion that we do every year. So yeah, busiest time of the year.
I wanted to ask you, as far as the process for you, were there any changes in the recording process this time around?
Not much. No, I think so we recorded the first album almost completely, I think completely in my house. And then from the first to the second, we made some changes and actually booked a studio time. And since then, we've been going to the same studio and been working with the same people. Like it's basically, yeah, pretty settled process for now.
And I wanted to talk to you about the title track because the title track did something that not many songs do to me. It actually brought tears to my eyes. It felt like all the planets had aligned and everything was perfect when you did that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good title track. We kind of always go for these. The track five is always the title track that's actually consistent across all of our albums, and it's always a piano ballad or a piano ballad adjacent thing. Um, and this one falls more into the piano ballad adjacent category of sort of like it's slightly heavier. And we hadn't done that since A Long Way to Neverland, which also has this ballady track, track five. And it's a very personal one, I think, this time for me, which, yeah, so that might, like, it is personal and it is
Mm.
pretty sad. And I think Simon managed in the production really well, like, this kind of like, there's these tempo changes that it has where it sort of like switches up on you a bit and gets more intense. And I think that really brought it together. And it sounds like much better than as if we just had done like one slow piano ballad. Like the fact that it
Yeah.
basically keeps kind of like getting faster and more intense does a lot to it's also like the one where I cried in the studio. There's like actual footage of me. So like if you're part of the Kickstarter campaign, there is a behind the scenes video that we're releasing as part of the campaign. And yeah, that's the one I actually had to take a break on that one and come back later and kind of go like, okay, I don't know if I can get through this. Um,
Another one of my favorite tracks on the album is In the Hallway. I wanted to ask if you could speak on that track as well.
yeah, so that's interesting. In the hallway is it's so fun to hear that it's people, some people, I think you're not the only one who says this is their favorite track. And it's interesting because it was one of the ones that production wise was hard to get together. Which is always when you work with another vocalist. So this is like
Sure.
a good friend of ours, Nefili. Um, and when we work with other vocalists who are kind of like very different from me, sometimes it takes like quite a bit of maneuvering to get it
Yeah.
to meld together, to sound good together. Like it's like you do something that sounds good for one singer and the other one will suffer and
Yeah.
vice versa, especially when you have like different recording situations, different equipment, and so on and so forth. And so we actually struggled with that one quite a bit. Although when I first heard the demo, it was one of my favorite demos um, from this album. So, which is also like a normal part. Sometimes it's I have had like, oh, didn't like the demo, but really like the end result. Like it
Yeah.
really grew on me. And then I had the opposite happen to me as well, where it was like I really loved the demo. And then the final result, I was like, I didn't hate it, but I was more excited about the demo than the final result sometimes. So like it can go either way, which in this way, like the demo was like really, really, really fun. And Nafili's vocals are so good. Like she
Yes.
is so good and it is so different from what I do. So I really love that she got like this whole intro part where we could just showcase. I'm kind of like just playing backup vocal in this one, I think a little bit. And I think that's also like, that's really good sometimes to sort of like showcase something else. I don't actually like when you have a featured singer and they come and sing on your album and they get to be like the second fiddle. I kind of like
Sure.
to do it the other way around, where I'm like, I really like to do like, let me be your harmony girl, basically, rather than taking up all the spotlight.
And I wanted to ask you if you could take me back in time and tell me how the partnership started in this creative process.
So Simon and I have known each other for, oh God, I have to calculate 18 years, 17 years, like a long time. We met when I was in my early 20s, also through music. And so we've been dabbling in kind of doing something together. Like if you are a sleuth on the internet, you will actually find like some very, very old stuff. Um, and then, but that never really went anywhere, like because neither of us really had the skill or the sort of like the stick to itiveness. I don't know what it was that we never kind of like figured out how to get from the demo to like, this one step further. And then in so we have known each other, we've worked together for almost as many years. Like we've known each other privately, professionally, for a long time, worked together for a long time on a lot of like completely music unrelated stuff as well. And then in 2020, when we had the pandemic, I was thinking actually just before this interview, I was thinking about like, well, how did this actually happen? And it wasn't like, oh, we were bored and needed a pandemic project. I think the change that we made, and this was not really on purpose, was that so we hadn't seen each other for the first couple of months of the pandemic. We hadn't seen each other. And then as soon as it was sort of like okay to meet people outside again, we started to go on a walking date, everyone, because I wanted to kind of like get a little fitter and like, get a
Mhm.
little healthier. And he really liked walking. So he was like, oh, I'll take you on a walk. I'll make you walk up and down the mountain. And he really did. Like we walked for like really long, like 20-kilometer walks
Wow.
basically like once a week, like really long. I have voice notes from that time that I sent him, and it's like I have a runner's high. Like you can hear that I'm really high, basically, like on the walking and stuff. I was
Sure.
like, so that really kicked off basically um very structured time, which we didn't have before. We didn't have like a once a week sort of standing, we will spend this day together
Sure.
doing this thing. And then once it started getting colder, I think that's kind of like the first song that we ever wrote together again, or like the first song that we wrote together again after like our 10-year hiatus of writing songs together, came after one of those walks where basically we came home, I sat down and just wrote down some lyrics because sometimes that's how we used to do it. I would write like a poem or something and then hand it to him, and he would just make a music basically. And that happened this time. And I hadn't felt the need to write something for like a long time. And so I think it was the structured time and the just seeing each other, and then kind of like that opened up the space, basically. That's sort of where the external conditions. And then when we had this song, and that one we never finished, but he then ended up writing like a second song right after that. So this is also sometimes what happens where I give him a thing and then he does that, and then there's five more things that he does
Mhm.
from there, right? And so then we started recording that, and I don't know what was different this time. I think maybe it's just this internet is a little further, online learning is a little further. Like it is
Sure.
certainly much easier to find content about music production now than it was like 15, 20 years ago. Right. So now you can go on YouTube and there's tons of videos about how to make your song or how to make it
Sure.
better, you know. And so that is sort of then how I think we overcame the second hurdle of, okay, we can make this releasable, basically. And our first goal was to just have a song basically finished. And we did actually publish straight at its face. I published it on my Facebook page, like on the 31st of January, 31st of December 2020, because we wanted to have it out before the new year, basically. And so I just pasted a link there, like a Google Drive link, you know, and I was like, okay, done. And then I got curious again about, oh, how do we get this onto a Spotify or something? Like,
Mm.
how do we actually do that? And from there, so then my spiral happened for like, oh, here's how you get it onto um, here's how you get it onto platform. Here's how you market your music. I started like reading a music marketing book. And then in that book, the one line that really stuck with me was, you can get anyone to work on your music if you can pay them. Which I was like, oh, actually, because I always thought like this stuff just happens. It never occurred to me that you just reach out to like a professional guy
Sure.
and be like, hey, I'll give you some money if you help me get this out, basically. And this is what we ended up doing. We contacted Miro Rodenberg, who is the mastering engineer for Avantasia and a lot of other German metal bands. So like he's pretty, I don't want to say famous, but he's pretty well known in the
Sure,
German metal
absolutely.
scene. And he still had like his website up and was like, I'll do a test master. So I just kind of wrote him an email like, hey, can you help? And he was like, yep, here's how much. And I was like, great. And then we got that first song, and then we kind of delusionally thought, oh, what about we make an album? And we thought that would go really quickly. Like, you know, it was kind of like you think about this in February, and then you're like, oh, we'll be done by like April. And obviously, we were not done by
Sure.
April. Like, you know, it took us the whole rest of 2021 to actually finish that first record and then put it out. And then from there, we've just kept going, basically. But yeah, I think it was sort of like we finally had the wherewithal to look up the right resources and to contact the right people, basically, because honestly, we wouldn't have 5 albums out without our mastering engineer. Like if I go back and listen to what we sent versus what we got back, I'm like, the fact that the first album is listenable, like that you can listen to it without like too much pain, is really thanks to him. Like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And him basically like hand holding us and really being very patient. Like we were so nervous and he was so patient with us.
And
And that,
imagine what, like back in the 70s and stuff, a label would say to you, all right, you have the studio this week, the whole album has to
yeah.
be done. And it'd be just so chaotic.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what that process would be like today. I am very glad that music production is more democratized. Like, for sure, there is also now way more music, so there is a lot more competition, right?
Sure.
There are a lot of people like us who can, you know, make 5 albums just with 2 people, with
Sure.
2 fixed members, you know. You don't like, we wouldn't also have 5 albums out if we had to have like a full band that we would have to find and pay and kind of get managed, you know. It's a lot like a creative process, like between the two of us, and we work well together. We've known each other for almost
Mhm.
20 years, and still we have enough friction
Sure.
between the two of us sometimes, not to the point where it'll blow up the band, but certainly to the point where if this, like if I multiply this by 3 or by 4 people, and like I now understand why there's so many bands who do like one album and then they break up.
Sure.
Kind of, you know. I'm also very glad we had like 15 years before we started this to get all of the drama out.
Mhm.
Basically, I feel like we have all the fights that we're ever gonna have, like we've had at this point in our lives. Um, but yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I'm really curious about working with more professionals in the future. Like I would love to go to to like our friend Herbie, for example, Herbie Lanhans, who's also a metal singer and also is on our album. Um, he also has a recording studio at his house. So sure, I would love to go to his house and learn from him how he does his vocals because when
Sure.
I get his vocals, like I'm like, oh, I have stuff to learn from you, Herbie, right? Because I'm
Mm.
like, he has like a very he does these choruses and layers in a way that is like just fantastic. And I'm like, okay, I want some of that, please. And so I'm really looking forward to it in that way. But also, I am very grateful that it isn't an absolute necessity because it gets expensive very, very quickly, you know, which again, I do not begrudge. If I had infinite money to spend, like that's what I would do, you
Sure.
know? Like I would get the studio and I would get the musicians and I would get like all of the things that all the bells and whistles basically because I think it's really fantastic to work with people who know their stuff. That is one of the things that I've come to appreciate during this process is like I love working with professionals.
And I
Like
want
absolutely.
and I wanted to ask you as well, has we talked about the idea of what it would be if there were more people. Has the
Hmm.
thought of cross the two of you of gain higher guns and going to the road?
No, absolutely not. I would die. And I don't mean this in a like, and this, I'm not even kidding. I am not energetically prepared to do that. Like, I'm 38, soft launching 40 soon. Um, this is not for me. Like, I want to be the Enya of heavy metal. Like, I want to release an album every year, which is pretty unique for us. We do an album every year. We could not do an album every year if I had to tour.
Right.
We wouldn't be like, I'm not Taylor Swift, who can do like the biggest world tour and have two albums recorded and released at the same time. Like, I'm like, it's like I know my limits. And I'm not saying we would never play a live show, but it is a very different ball game. It's kind of like the difference between um doing the choreography, being a choreography for figure skating and being the actual figure skater. They're very
So,
different skills. And physically, touring is extremely demanding. It is very expensive. Most musicians don't make money on their tours. And it is also, I need my 8 hours of sleep. I am very introverted. I cry every time I've been at a big party. I love the party, but afterwards I cry for 3 days because I'm just peopled out, basically.
mm,
And so I don't think it would, at this point in time, with the support that I could afford, it is not the most efficient way to spend my energy if my goal is to make more music.
absolutely.
Right? Like, and for the longest time, up until recently, also I was working full time. Like I had a day job, I'm
Right.
actually like, I'm an accountant. So, it was just kind of funny. But so there is no, like, I couldn't even make the time to practice for the tour. Like the practice and the
Right.
training, it's just not you have to pick one or the other, I think, which is what bands do, right? They make an
Sure.
album and then they tour for 2 years or whatever. They do the tour and then you don't hear from them for a while and they kind of make another album. And so, like, no, you can't do both. And I prefer having more music out over investing in basically my least practiced skill.
Right. And that's the difference between bands that nowadays is that some make the album as a reason to go on the tour,
Hmm.
and others are making music as more of a statement than a
And I
touring device.
Yeah, and I think it's both of it is fine. Like, and also there is actually a counter trend right now as well. In like, there are big artists like Miley Cyrus, for example, who says like, no, I'm never touring again. I'm done. Like, it's way too intense. It's not healthy
Right.
for me. It isn't like Mariah Carey doesn't tour anymore. Like,
Right.
there are lots of artists who, once they got out from under the label, and didn't have to tour anymore. Where like there are many artists who relish it, but there are also lots who are like, eh, that was my least favorite bit, right?
Sure.
Adele doesn't tour. Adele does a residency.
Sure.
you know.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, and I'm not saying I'm Adele. I'm just saying if it's good enough for Adele or for Mariah or for Miley, it's good enough for me,
Absolutely.
basically.
And in getting back to the album, were there any tracks that didn't make the album?
This time, no. Usually we have released almost everything that we've finished. Actually, strike that. We have released everything that we have finished. We have had tracks that I have two tracks that I keep bumping. Um, One of them is just because it doesn't kind of quite fit the vibe. Like it's a
Mhm.
cool song, but it's not a Niovel song. And the other one is actually because I want to produce it myself and I'm not quite there yet. So like when I
Sure.
can make it myself, then it's gonna make it onto the album. So we have scrapped ideas in sort of like the demo stages. Um, we have also bumped things kind of like because I mean the whole second album happened because we had too many tracks that didn't make it onto the first one, right? So then we
Mhm.
bumped them and made the second album, and then we had leftover tracks again or leftover bits that we wanted to finish. So we made the third album. So that actually happened. So like we have two things right now in a drawer somewhere that are gonna come on the next album because at the time we were like, okay, we actually have enough tracks.
Sure.
Like we basically and I think this is different for other musicians and I love both approaches. There are some musicians who write like I don't know 80 tracks or something and then they pick like the best 10
Hmm.
and they release an album every 5 years. We kind of release an album as soon as we have enough to release an album. And that happens to be every year for us at this point in time. So, no, we have never actually scrapped something.
And
No.
I think that's great because music to me is almost like a photo, a picture of time.
Yeah.
So, so each one of your albums is a picture of the moment that you're in.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting when I look back because I don't know for Simon, but for myself, I always write about what I need to hear, but I don't figure it out until like a year or two later. So it's like really interesting. For example, when I wrote Caravan for the which was that? That was the fourth album. So when I wrote Caravan, it starts with rest for a while, there is no point to return to the road ahead. Year later, I quit my job. Right?
Wow.
So I'm kind of like, okay, there's no point to go this way. And certainly this time around, both Letters to the Other Side and Moonbeams very much relate to things that were happening at the time of writing as well.
Hmm.
Not in totality, like I never have a song that is in completion autobiographical, but there will be bits that sort of there will be bits that are kind of like, oh, this is what I'm thinking about, or this is
Sure.
what I was struggling. This is what I was trying to tell myself at the time, basically. And so yeah, that's kind of interesting. And in that way, they are very linear. So like, it's always, as you say, like it's a snapshot of kind of
Yes.
like the mental state of both of us, Simon and I, at the time, which we wouldn't have if we had things out of sequence or um yeah.
And now the album's out. What is the best way to get a copy of the album and any merchandise that you have?
Well, right now we actually have our Kickstarter campaign going. So we have this model where every year we release the album in December. And then in January, we run a Kickstarter campaign to pay for the CD printing and the merch and kind of also get some money for it to put towards the next
Sure.
album, right? Um, and so right now we have the Kickstarter campaign. We're on day three. It's going to go for another 4 weeks. And that is the best way and also the most affordable way to not just get the album, but also get all of the other albums. Like there's always a complete, just get all of our stuff
Oh, wow.
package.
Great.
So that is like a really interesting thing. That we do, which I started doing just because I didn't have anything, right? Like
Mhm.
with the second Kickstarter, I had like CDs from the first one left over, and I was like, okay, I'll just offer, like, hey, you can get the one, or if you just discovered us, get the both of them. And we're now on the fifth one, and I'm still doing that, and people still take me up on it. People still go like, oh yeah, I want 5 CDs, the T-shirt, um, the tote bag that we're doing this year, and the handwritten lyric card that you're doing this year. Just give me all your stuff. And I do this because I am an undecisive girly myself. When I see someone else's Kickstarter, I love a good option for don't make me choose, just give me everything,
Sure.
right? Like I just want to support, give me everything. And so we have that. So whether you have you have our other albums or you're just discovering us, you basically can pick everything up
Okay.
during the
And the way
Kickstarter
to
campaign.
access that, is that through your like social media pages, or do you have a
Yes.
website?
We have a website. The website is niovel.com. And on there, you can see the Kickstarter. You can also just put Niovel Kickstarter into Google or letters to the other side Kickstarter. That will come up for you.
Okay.
Um, and then on there is our website is on all of our socials. So but also like Google works quite well now for us. In the beginning it didn't, but now if you put a Neovel band, you have to put in band because else it kind of will offer you like search results for like novel or something like that.
Yes.
But right, that's a problem. So like if you put a Neovel band or Neovel plus album title or Neovel plus song title, um, and just Google what comes up, you're gonna find what we have.
And lastly, I wanted to ask you if you could give a message to your fans, what message would you give them?
Just give me all your money because I need to buy some fries. I'm like, I am here, like, you get the music for free, but like, let's not kid ourselves. I am here to take your money so that I can pay for making more music and to get some fries.
Well, I
But
wanted
also, I love my fans. They are the best.
to, well, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for creating an album that I enjoyed from top to bottom.
What was it? So, is your favorite track in the hallway then? I
No,
forgot to
mine
ask.
is a title track because
Letters to the other side.
very few songs have brought tears to my eyes, and that song absolutely did.
Yeah, it's a good one. It is a good one. What's the part where you start crying?
I don't, I think it was toward the end of the song because as I'm hearing the song, it just felt like I said, like everything just fell into place perfectly. And
Yeah,
like every moment was special, and like I was experiencing something that was just very special and important.
yeah.
And very few songs have done that to me, but that one has.
Thank you. I'm like really glad to hear it. I mean, I'm also kind of not glad because I'm like, it's not that I want to make people cry, but also kind of, you know?
Sure.
Like, you want some sort of response. I'm very glad that that did something for you.
Well, thank you again for taking time to speak with me, and I look forward to what lies ahead. Please keep me updated as things progress.
Yes, and let me know when you put this online and let me know if we can do anything else for you.
All right, thank you
All right.
again, and enjoy the
Thank
rest of your
you.
day.
Will do. Bye.
Bye.